Oh, that's
Hi there.
lovely. Hang on a second. Okay.
Show us Hattie.
There's
Hi,
Hattie.
Hattie. Hattie and Rue. Hi, all. Kinsey Schofield here with our dear friend Scott Rouse, a leading expert in behavior and body language. Scott serves as a trusted advisor to law enforcement, the military, top tier CEOs, and me. Be sure to follow Scott on his YouTube channel and the Behavior Panel's YouTube channel. Also, I'm going to just say it right off the bat. One of the reasons I love to talk to you about Harry and Meghan specifically is because you have a history in the entertainment industry and you've seen so much when it comes to marketing and branding, and you might know why they're making some of the decisions that they're making. And we're really going to get into that when we look at Prince Harry's trip to Canada. So thank you for being so knowledgeable.
Oh, you're welcome.
Did you see any headlines last week about Harry and Meghan at the Dodgers game?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all saw that.
I know, I know. I mean, there's this, I'll just go ahead and paint this picture for you because I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about this specific storyline that's playing out in the royal watching community. There are
Okay.
claims that Harry and Meghan are trying to get back into the fold. I mean, when are they not? But they're calling it Project Thaw. We saw it, an example of it, I guess, was when Prince Harry recently went to visit King Charles in the UK when he was there for the Well Child event. Some are even speculating that Meghan is trying to reconnect with Princess Catherine. And when I saw them at the Dodgers game, again, PR and marketing hat for you, when I saw them at the Dodgers game, I thought, ill advised considering everything that's going on with Prince Andrew to respect this historical moment of Andrew having his title stripped. Wouldn't you kind of lay low instead of sitting in front of Magic Johnson in the dugout, basically at a Dodgers game in the midst of the World Series? Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah. No, any press is good press.
You
So
always say that. I actually knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
and you're dealing with narcissism at its highest, not its highest level, but she's a clinical narcissist. It's really high. So anytime she gets a chance for a lot of people to look at her, of course she's going, especially since she can say, was it the owner that invited him? Is that who put him in there?
Mm-hmm.
So she can say the owner, that's why we're going. We got owner, and she can talk about that, and everybody's going to know that. So again, that's totally about making them from a social perspective, look like they're still on top because they've got that going on.
That's so funny that you say that because my initial reaction, and I think I said it in the UK when I was asked about it, was they're sitting there because they want you to know that they have friends in high places. And that's basically what you just said, that they're just trying to remind the world that they are relevant.
Exactly.
But they're booed. Let's watch the booze. Let's watch it. I think we're going to watch it twice through. Can we focus on Meghan the first time?
Mhm.
And then after Meghan, can we look at Prince Harry? Do you mind if we do it that way?
Yeah, it's great.
Sorry, that's a short clip. Maybe I should have slowed it. You were always slowing it down on your channel. Maybe I should have slowed it down. Did you get a sense of Meghan's reaction? I mean, all press is good press. So is she just happy that the camera's on her, even if there are boos being hurled in her direction?
Yeah, and that usually, if you notice at the games when they put that camera on famous people when they're at the games or football games and things like that, they all wave or they make the little heart thing that everybody makes, that kind of thing. Not her. She sort of froze up in there. Now, whether they are, I couldn't tell. I've listened to that 1,000 times. I can't tell if they're actually booing them or not because is it the Blue Jays? I don't know anything about sports, but is it the Blue Jays? Is that their name? The team
Yeah, the
name?
Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah.
Maybe they were yelling blue or Blue Jays or something
Nice
because
try.
blue
Nice
no
try.
longer. Now,
Well,
believe me,
well,
I'm
let me
not.
tell
I'm
you
not
what.
picking
Well,
a
let me tell you why
team.
they might have been booed. It's because Megan's been seen in hundreds of pictures wearing a Blue Jays cap because she used to live in Toronto while she filmed Suits. So, if you looked up Megan in any sort of baseball association, it would actually be with the Blue Jays. And then Harry's father is the King of Canada. And so you would assume that Harry would be there rooting for the Canadian team, a country he visits less than or a week later. So perhaps the boos are from Blue Jays fans that are thinking, what are you doing in the Dodgers dugout?
Okay.
I'm just here to offer the other side. I love how you're like, I'm not sure it's booze. I didn't hear it until I listened to it on my computer, and then I thought those are booze.
Oh, okay. Because boos last a long time, and you get that low ooh, you get, especially if it's guys booing. It might have been women booing, I don't know. But when guys do, it's that low boo, that hateful sounding boo,
Yeah.
But it might have been, it could have been. I don't know. But I got to call them. I can see them and hear them. So I can't swear it's booing, but most people think it is. So, and you'd think I'd have to be on that side of it, but I'm not, I can't tell. And I was a professional
Were you a
listener.
professional booer?
I was a professional booer. Yes. Back in the old days. I'm a Capricorn.
uh, well, so in Megan's face, what you take a well, yeah, Jeff Goldblum does the funny when Jeff Goldblum goes on the jumbotron, he hams it up. He's adorable. Taylor Swift sometimes has fun with it. Sometimes she ducks and doesn't want the attention. But you're right; they don't react in the way you might expect them to, especially if they're so excited to be there. Like Megan posts an Instagram reel after this where she's getting her foot long and living the dream.
Mhm.
And you just would expect a little more enthusiasm versus like,
Yeah. I didn't see that part.
ah.
All I saw was the booing part. So,
All right, well, let's just take a look at Harry for a second then and see if you recognize anything with because I had initially thought I had seen with Harry discomfort, but then he smiles. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'm seeing something that's not there. There's like a little weird crease in his mouth that I felt like might be discomfort. And then he smiles.
I think he's probably looking. I think that's when he recognizes himself or sees them on the thing or whatever. The what do you call it? Jumbotron.
Mm-hmm.
That's when that smile kicks in is when he sees that. So he may just be looking around. I don't even think they're under the impression they're being booed yet, or
Mm.
if it even does dawn on them. They might have had been told that, but then she wouldn't have acted like that if that was true. So maybe she thought, I'm okay. I'll make this call then. I'll think she was under the impression they were being booed because of the way she behaved. And I don't think he's the smartest guy in the world. Not that he would miss that, not, has anything to do with it, but I don't think he really caught on to it yet. I don't. I feel like he was there, but he wasn't there.
Yeah. I don't feel like this is a place where he would feel comfortable. He
No.
tends to avoid. I mean, I've seen him at the Super Bowl before. He went with Eugenie years ago, but we don't typically see him at American sporting events, and especially if he is truly concerned about security, this does not seem like a place where he's going to thrive. I talked to Tom Bauer, who wrote this book called Revenge, that's really good about Harry and Meghan, and he's got a new one coming out next year. And he said that we never see Meghan Markle defeated, that, she, even when she fails, she still pops up and she wants us to think that she's winning. And is that narcissism? Can you walk me through the ability to be able to fake it in that way? And how exhausting physically is that on the body to continue to try to keep that up and to hide any sort of disappointment?
Well, from a psychological perspective, it's kind of tough to do. But there are certain kinds of people that can do that. No matter what you throw at them, they come up smiling. Because in the long term, what you're seeing from a publicity standpoint, in the long term, all you do is see them smile and all that, and you don't focus on, oh, look, they got her. Look at this, because she looks like that. Because that's what I'm doing on my channel. We look for everything, body language wise, and we would hear it like we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough to do that, but it's important to keep that just keep smiling attitude because that's what gets you through a lot of stuff. And maybe that helps you talk yourself through those things as well. It sounds kind of weird, but it's a lot of people do that, especially in politics, because the 50% of the people hate you and 50% of the people just think you're the most wonderful thing ever. They're seeing that in New York now. No matter what happens, that mom dummy, dang, he just smiles all the time. No matter what they say or do, that guy just keeps smiling. And you looked at Cuomo when they were coming at him, you didn't smile the whole time. You
Mm,
see one guy winning and one guy not winning, makes you wonder. When you see when someone smiles, you smile back at them automatically. That's and your brain goes, oh, there's a smile. You can do it with pictures. You can do it with have somebody across the street smile, and you'll smile too. It's something automatic we do. Can't help it. It's subconscious. It just pops out. And when you smile, what we know from Paul Ekman's studies, he was one of the guys that first did the facial studies on the seven universal facial expressions. And what he found out was that when you smile or whatever expression you make, that fires off stuff in your brain, to make a long story short, that makes you feel that emotion.
yeah.
So if somebody's smiling at you and you start smiling back, they start feeling that emotion. So people who smile at people a lot, notice how many people like them, not just because they're smiling, but they think they're happy or whatever. It's because it's making them smile. So that emotion goes through this. There may be something to that. There are a couple of studies about that, but they're not very interesting and they're not too deep yet. But Ekman's were the best ones so far. If anybody's into looking up studies on Ekman, Paul Ekman.
I feel like you're absolutely right. And when I hear you say that, it reminds me of just how damaging I feel like the first few years Harry and Meghan were in the United States were, because first impressions matter. And I felt like we saw the real Harry and Meghan, and they told us they were the real Harry and Meghan when they moved to the United States. And when Meghan is sitting in that chair with Oprah Winfrey, and when Meghan is sitting on that couch talking to Netflix, she's not as smiley and she's not as friendly. And I associate her with that. I don't associate her with the girl in the Netflix kitchen, in the rented kitchen for Netflix, smiling at her chef friends. It seems like they should have been privy to this a little bit sooner, and maybe we would have more of a, I mean, I guess in looking back, they have made a lot of mistakes, but being so negative in the first few years of their new life in the United States, it's cemented in my brain. And it's hard for me to accept this smiley new version of her because I don't believe that it's authentic.
Yeah, the first 6 to 9 seconds you see someone, that's how that someone sees you. That's how they're going to remember you. That's how they lock in. Because they'll see somebody, they'll make a lot of decisions about you. There's a study that was done, and when you see someone in those first 6 to 9 seconds, they see that it's called the thin slices study. If anyone wants to look that up, and it was done at Harvard. And in that first 6 to 9 seconds, right there, you make up a backstory for that person. Your brain does. You may see that person and go, for the first time, say, "Oh, that person reminds me of somebody who was mean to me in high school. I don't think I liked him," even though you never talked to him. Creates that backstory for it, right? You may see somebody and go, oh, if you're giving a talk or something, you look down and down there, the people you're talking to, see somebody looks like your sister. You go, oh, she looks like my sister. My sister's sweet and funny, and I'm probably gonna like her, or I like her. So your brain automatically sets itself up to like that person or dislike that person from that first 6 to 9 seconds. So you take someone like Harry and Meghan when they first come in, and you see them and they're not smiling for that first little while or wherever it was. That sort of sets you up. And now we see them smiling all the time, so we know there's a difference there. People who have followed the royals and there's a lot of them that understand the way, that see the way they are now and saw the way they were before. They have that set up of, I don't know, they don't look very happy. I'm not so sure I like them. They remind me of somebody who's sad. Then you see that one where they're smiling all the time. It's not like, oh, things have changed and they're happy now. They don't see it like that because they don't think about them all day long. They're not part of their lives. So they see them here, there, and they see them down here, and all of a sudden they're smiling from then on all these other spots they see them in. Then that's not the same as they know them as.
Mm,
So that's why they get the feeling it's
fake.
fake.
Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't want energy, metabolic, immune, and skin support? Meet Peak, a luxury brand transforming wellness with the absolute best rare and precious plants, cutting edge ingredients, and formulations rooted in traditional wisdom. Their science backed botanicals, minerals, and supplements support sustained energy, metabolic function, immune health, and radiant skin, making it easy to live every day with vitality. One of their newest essentials, the deep hydration protocol, is a 2-part drinkable skincare system that keeps your body and skin hydrated while promoting better sleep. Made without sugar, fillers, or artificial flavors, and crafted with natural ingredients for a clean, spa-like taste you can feel good about. Daily use supports hydration, glowing skin, improved sleep, and sustained energy. In the morning, I use BT Fountain. That's their beauty electrolyte. It helps hydrate from within, smooth skin, and gives me lasting energy. But at night, you better believe I'm grabbing RE Fountain, the calming electrolyte. It contains a gentle form of magnesium that eases tension and helps me get deep, restful sleep without feeling groggy the next day. Wake up rested and stay hydrated all day. Get 20% off for life, a complimentary gift, and explore Peak's clean, pure ingredient products at peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. This is hydration redefined. Try it and glow from the inside out. So Harry is booed at the game, according to headlines, but maybe not according to Scott Rouse. He's booed at this Dodgers game. Also, the Dodgers lose, and a lot of people are like, you guys are not a good luck charm. But then he announces that he's going to Canada. And Canadians are livid because they just lost the World Series and watched Harry sit there wearing a Dodgers cap. So all these headlines are circulating around that they don't want him to come to Canada. And they're mad at him because they have so much pride in their baseball team. And it felt like Harry was not loyal to his father's kingdom, his country. So Harry is kind of put on the spot about this during an interview in Canada. And I'd love to know your thoughts on whether this was an authentic moment or not. Let's take a look at this.
It was widely criticized across the country after being spotted at Dodgers Stadium sporting a Dodgers hat during the World Series.
I would like to apologize to Canada for wearing it. Secondly, I was under duress. There wasn't much choice. I was invited to the LA Dodgers box, or the dugout, by the owner himself, so I was doing what I thought was the polite thing to do. But I'm going to wear this from now on to make sure I don't make any more of those mistakes.
Do you have initial thoughts before I ask you anything by watching that? What stands out to you?
That's prepared. That's prepared. I mean, because he got home and thought about that and said, "Oh Lord, what am I going to say? I got to talk to these Canadians." He may have talked to some people and said, "How do we approach this?" Or put it in Chat GPT and said, "How you do something like that?" Then he's got to talk to somebody. I don't mean to offend anyone, but he's a little bit. How tall is Harry? He's like 6'1"?
Yeah,
He's an inch
6'1".
tall. How tall is his dad?
His
You've
dad.
seen his dad. You've seen his dad. How tall is he?
When I met him last week, he was taller than I am, but he's taller than I am in heels. So he's taller than probably 5'8", maybe he's 5'8".
When you shook his hand, how tall are you?
5'7", but I was wearing heels.
Okay, it's okay. So when you shook his hand, was it down here or was it way up here or was it right here?
It was low. It was low.
Okay, so he's not as tall as Harry?
No.
Okay. How do you smell? Do you have any recognizable cologne on?
Perfect. Delicious. Perfect.
Yeah.
It's like he spelled expensive.
Oh, well, that's he should, I guess. He should. Anyway, back to this. So there's a lot going on there because he is in a situation where looked like he was for the other team, and now he's at the other team's, at the home team, and having to, that's why he says this thing about being bald, because you have to
Self-deprecating. Yeah,
and say that so you feel sorry for him, and he sort of does a little curtsy thing he does. So and he has to do a little bit more because the guy is smaller than him. So it's an odd juxtaposition of that guy that size. He's having to apologize to and do all that because he's apologizing to a country as he's apologizing to this guy, which is what's happening. So that was set up there. I don't know about the hat. That seemed odd to me. I don't know why you'd have a hat there and have it, it seemed a little bit big to go on his head, but that's prepared. You would, somebody like that would prepare an answer like that. So I think he was ready to go.
Yeah. And again, telling us that he was invited to the game by the owner and it was the polite thing to do. Does he realize that he comes off as arrogant when he's because we hear that and we go, oh, so you're bragging that you know the owner. Why does he not realize that that's maybe not the avenue to go? It's okay to say we were invited without those details, and we wanted to see history made. We're fans of both teams. We were invited by the owner. I was in duress, felt extreme.
Well, in a situation like that, you're going to say, listen, man, the guy who owned the place, if you're going to talk normal, you're going to say, I was there because the guy who owned the team said, hey, man, come down here and sit with us. My mom's sitting over here and we're doing that. And
oh, so
come
you
down
think
here.
you think that that's just him being him?
No,
Oh,
he's adding that in because he wants everybody to know. He's adding everything that's shiny that goes along with this. He has to stick that on his chest for everybody to see. So look at those kind of things like jewelry, almost little diamonds you put on yourself to make you shine brighter. So he has to add everything he possibly can to that because remember, we're dealing with someone who's trying to stay relevant because he isn't anymore. Not that he was in the first place, but before everything changed, everybody liked the guy.
yeah.
So now we're seeing why they don't. But so all these little things he can talk about are little things he can put on that will make him shine brighter to other people for his ego. So
Yeah.
that's all that is, just shining himself up.
Yeah. So this is him like trying to, again, when I think about this concept of Project Thaw and these two trying to work their way back to the royal family, probably didn't reflect well on them, that they were rooting for the other team. He tries to clear that up in this interview. Now I want to take you to this other interview with Hasan Minhaj, and I truly am at a loss for what message he was trying to convey here, because this interview was all over the place and silly, and it didn't feel. Actually, I'll tell you exactly what I think's going on. I think he hates Joe Rogan, and I know he hates Joe Rogan because he threatened to leave Spotify when Rogan was asking questions about the you-know-what virus. And Spotify was like, Joe Rogan's, our number one guy, no matter what you say, Prince Harry. So we're not going to budge. And Joe Rogan remains one of their top podcasters. And he says in this interview with Hasan Minhaj, and we'll watch that specific clip in a second, but he talks about the influence on young men. And so I think he's trying to find a way that he can have a similar influence on young men with Hasan Minhaj. And I'm just asking myself, is this the right venue for that? Because they don't have a similar sense of humor, or correct me if I'm wrong. We'll watch these clips and you can tell me if I'm wrong. And, I don't know. I don't know if that, I don't, go ahead.
Harry doesn't like Joe Rogan, or Minaj doesn't?
Harry and Meghan threatened to leave Spotify at the beginning of their deal because Rogan was talking to people that were challenging the narrative about what was going on with the plague. And Spotify was like, okay. And it seems to me that it feels like he's criticizing this, that, he's talking about how they need to protect the men because of these outlets online. And it's like, but this is exactly what you're trying to infiltrate said outlet with with this interview. And I think Joe Rogan would have Harry on in a heartbeat. I mean, I think that Joe Rogan would let, Prince Harry unleashed, because he knows Harry would talk himself into a hole and make an ass out of himself. It wouldn't take much. But watch him with Hasan Minhaj and tell me if they're on the same level, if the objective is to be taken seriously in this space. Does it do him any favors to kind of be, Hasan's punching bag? There are a few things we'll dissect, but let's watch this first clip before we get there.
What do you think of this Charlie XCX Taylor Swift beef?
The what? Oh, no.
No, this is serious, because was Charlie's diss track even a diss track? I mean, to me, Sympathy is a Knife was about something completely different. But then Taylor comes back and I think escalates it with the actually romantic thing. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, is this fair? Or did Charlie draw blood and Taylor had to respond? Sometimes I just think, where do we go from here,
Well,
That made me want to die. Like that, it was so uncomfortable. Minaj, of course, is talking about pop culture, this idea that Taylor Swift wrote a diss track about Charlie XCX, and Harry is not in the loop. And Hasan just keeps going with it. Harry at one moment looks totally panicked. Was this the right venue for him? Because while this clip is funny to people online, I don't know if it reflects positively on. I mean, I guess I've seen comments. This is why we love Harry, but I don't know if it helps him brand himself as an authority on anything to look silly in a clip like this.
Yeah, what makes people endearing to people is people with a quick wit. You know, if
Mm,
something happens and you can come back and say something at least small funny, not try to hog it all and be too funny. This was the perfect time for him to if he was quick-witted, then he would be able to say something that would be funny in there, just to add to it and say, I get it. But apparently he didn't understand what it was because he's not familiar with any of that. So he should have had something loaded. He maybe not loaded, ready to go, but he should be able to come up with something really quickly to say that would be funny to go along with what Minaj is talking about.
right.
But he didn't understand what was happening, and that lets us know he's probably. Most people think they're funny. Everybody likes to think they're funny and humorous because we all like humor. We all like to laugh. And so when you make somebody laugh, you're actually giving them something. You're making them feel good. And I don't think this guy's funny. I don't think he's got any funny in him at all, not even a little bit. I mean, I've done comedy albums before, and I know a lot of comedians, and and hang out with some. And let me tell you, I don't see funny in this guy at all, not even a little bit. So maybe some people thought that was endearing, with him sitting there like that, not understanding it as Minaj went on and kept going, in that scenario, that's the funny scenario because if he had stopped, then it would have killed it. But since he
Mm.
kept going, that actually made it funny and sort of saved Harry, you know, because everybody was in on the joke but Harry until it dawned on him that it is a joke, and then he realized what was going on, and then couldn't think of anything to say that was funny. So they,
So cringe. When he looks off to the side, did you feel panic in your body? As I mean, I did. When he looks off, like it's almost like he's looking at his handler, like WTF, what do
yeah,
I do? And they're probably going, it's a joke, it's a joke, like just play along.
that's
I
him
felt
looking for
panic.
relief. He's looking for relief from someone. He wants somebody to say something because he can't think of anything to say. So he thought if he looked over there, they'd go, "Hey, man," and say something either funny or start explaining. So he could go, "Oh," and he could take it from there. But I don't think anything happened. I don't know. It was uncomfortable to watch because he's not funny. He couldn't. He doesn't have the wit to complete that connection there with Minaj and him. He couldn't make it happen. So
Right.
everybody would like it and think it was funny.
Yeah, like why not just be like, oh, we're more into Baby Shark in my house or something like that. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't be keen on Taylor Swift and Charlie XCX beef because we're rocking out to High School Musical or whatever it is the kids are listening to these days. I don't know. But you're right. It just felt dead. And he looked so confused. And then as they build up throughout the interview, it does take a serious turn, and Hasan meets him at that level and engages with him in this conversation that we'll see in a second. But it's hard for me to take him seriously as an authority when Hasan's really, I think they refer to it in Britain as taking the piss out of Prince Harry throughout this interview. Let's take another look at him kind of teasing Harry about the book Spare.
There's a moment in the book that really shook me to my core, and it was this quote. Each year I received from Pa an official clothing allowance, but that was strictly for formal wear, suits and ties, ceremonial outfits. For my everyday casual looks, I'd go to Maxx, the discount store. I was particularly fond of their once-a-year sale when they'd be flush with items from Gap or J. Crew, items that had just come out of season or were slightly damaged. Bro, I'm sorry I had to go through that.
I know. You know what? It was hard. It was really hard. TK Maxx it's now a special place. Forms a special place in my memory.
And as I was reading that, I was just like,
I hate Hasan Minhaj, but that did make me laugh. You know, so Spare is one of the most ridiculous books in the entire world. And this was one of the least, I mean, we could have gone over all of Harry's Todger talking about his frozen Todger and the Elizabeth Arden cream. I appreciate the fact that he didn't take the obvious joke and he went this route about Harry complaining about having to wear discounted clothes. Harry realizes it's a joke pretty quickly and plays along, but you're right, his inability to play along is limited.
Yeah. Because that's wide open. TK Maxx is the same thing in Britain as TJ Maxx here in America. Now, if there are the gentlemen watching this will know this, and the women will too. Check this out. When I go to TJ Maxx and take my wife, we're out doing stuff. Let me stop by real quick. Y'all want to go in real quick and go in? There are guys. I'll just wait here in the car. We talk. The guys in the car next to you, ask your husband, ask your boyfriend. That's what's happening. We talk. The window goes down. How many times you been here this week, man? Twice. That's cool. Doing good? Hanging in there. Hang in there, man. I'll see you in a bit. So we talk. Same thing for the other place he was talking about as well. So that's where he could have taken it anywhere and talked about how the familiar party, what's he doing going in TJ Maxx? He doesn't go in there. No. His wife goes and gets it for him. That sounds horrible. I'm going to get killed for that. But that's the way it is. Yeah. Guys usually don't like going in there. I'm sure there's a lot of them that do. In my experience, it's just my wife likes to go in there and these other women. And I know that because there's guys I talk to while I'm there.
Yeah.
Outside in the car while they're there in their car. That's the way it is.
Right. It's just, he could have made a joke there though about how extremely privileged his bad days are though. And he there's a lack. He tries to look self-deprecating, like, yeah, it'll always have a special place in my heart. But I feel like he could have taken it even further. And this taken out of context or, the way it's spread around the internet is like Hasan Minhaj roasts Prince Harry. Again, not a great, why do this interview if those are the types of headlines that are going to come out of it? I continue to question if this was the right venue for Harry. Do you feel at all like this is a mismatch as you watch these two?
I think it lets us see a little bit more who he is. We're getting a better view. For going back to the TJ Maxx thing, he could have said, what I really like about that? I know it's old, the stuff comes from the Gap and whatever, but you know what? You can't get anywhere else when you go in there is this. We know he doesn't need to go in there. And I would bet he's never been in there.
Yeah.
I mean, ever seen a picture of him in TK or TJ Maxx?
No, I've seen a picture of him naked in Vegas, but not in a TK Maxx. Yeah.
There you go. And you won't. And I'll put $1,000 on it. Somebody send me a picture of that. I want to see it or put it up somewhere. I'd like to see. You may have one. I don't know, but I would bet never been in there. So I think the match of these two talking, it lets us see who he actually is. So I know who he is a little bit better now. I know he's not funny. I know that this guy Minhaj is just being nice to him to be nice to him because he's there and it's good for his podcast. He's not really connecting with him because funny people understand there's a connection you make with another funny person. That's how those people.
That's why we're friends.
Exactly, because I'm so hilarious and you're so hilarious.
All right, let's look at this next clip. I believe it's Harry breaking down protecting children online. And you and I have discussed his posture before when he talks about this. Specifically, the last time was in New York, and you were disappointed in him. I'd love to get a grade from you on this delivery based on compared to the New York delivery, because I personally see an improvement and an eagerness to speak, where in New York I felt insecurity and hesitation.
How do we mobilize to be able to ensure that the future of our digital space isn't created by a small group of elite powerful people,
tech oligarchs,
tech oligarchs, you said it, in a boardroom, as opposed to for the people that are using it. And there's a moral and there's an ethical argument, which I think is very clear. What still astounds me is the lack of legal protections.
Same.
Again, it's like as a company, if you're working in that company, surely you would want accountability.
Yeah.
As
I
opposed
mean,
to
there is
just
this culture
nothing.
of build fast and break things, and that's totally fine with binary code. When our kids or teenagers are the collateral damage, that's the terrifying part. And I hope, man, this becomes a bipartisan thing. It's not about Democrat or Republican. It's not about what country you're from. This is a thing that
It affects every
it
single
affects
person.
every single person.
And it's not. And when it comes to the kids literally killing themselves because of social media, it's still very easy
Yeah.
for the companies to turn around and say, well, if you don't like it, don't use it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're the ones that made it super, super addictive in the first place. And now you've got the kids hooked on it.
He does sound like, I'm going to get negative comments for this, but he was eager to talk about a fact or a topic that he knows about there. And maybe that just means he read up on his notes last night before this conversation, but he seemed a lot more confident to me in this exchange than he did at that parenting event in New York a month ago.
Yeah, that's a softball question for him, though. That's something that's part of his platform. That's hitting him right there. And, he's at home plate, man. That's perfect for him because he's said that 1,000 times. Now, in the last few weeks, he hasn't said that. We know because he slows down. He closes his eyes and he starts stuttering because he's trying to get the second half of that statement he usually uses in that situation for that specific question. He knows what it is, and he has this thing where he stands up there and gives talks and says this, but he hasn't said it for a couple of weeks. I mean, out loud. So it's not ready there to roll off his tongue, so to speak. So that's why he has that problem there. But that's his platform. That's what he's all on. And every platform that he gets on, he takes it to the wall. This is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
There's a safety problem with it.
I've noticed that with our politicians too, in our politics. Everything is so extreme to the point where you're like, I'm extremed out. Talk to me like I'm a human and not like I'm a headline.
Yeah, exactly. And if you'll notice, his vernacular changes here too. There's a lot of things that change when he starts talking about these things. When he gets on his platform or you hit him right there in the pocket and say, what about this? And he knows all about it. He's just using these things, by vernacular, the words he uses, the phrases he uses, they're different than the other things when he's talking. He doesn't use that. He doesn't talk like that normally. So what he's talking about is these things that are set up.
He's memorized some key points that make him sound intelligent. Yeah. It might be a silly question, but we talked so much about how physically awkward and uncomfortable he looked in New York. The way he did, meandered around the stage and the weird things he does, tapping his leg or tapping his pants. Do you think he's more comfortable when he's seated? Or was it just the environment in general? Not a room full of strangers. He's across from Hasan Minhaj. They've probably given Hasan these specific talking points when it comes to this specific campaign.
Well, let's take into consideration when you're in front of a bunch of people like that. I can talk about these specific things because I train law enforcement in the military, and I give talks to big companies and things.
Yeah.
So, and at colleges and stuff. So I know it's like to be in front of a bunch of people. That's a different feeling than it is when you're sitting there talking to somebody on a podcast. It's different than talking to somebody on a Zoom, which is different than talking to someone when you're doing the news. So if I'm doing the news, then it's a different thing because I'm not just talking to the person who's the host. I'm actually supposed to be giving news or whatever, telling my take on something. So it's a different feeling for each one. So I would say find one where he's talking to someone else in a similar situation and compare those. But in this kind of thing, I think you're right. I think he's a little bit more comfortable here because he's seated. He's dealing with one person. He pretty much knows what the subject's going to be. He already knows the guy's going to be nice to him. This isn't going to be an attack. There's nothing in play here. There's nothing else. It's not part of something. So he doesn't have to worry about being the best one there or saying something out of place and a bunch of people are going to holler at him, or it's, he's got to do something right after that. His schedule probably isn't very tight that day. So from an emotional perspective, he's probably a little bit more relaxed in these situations because there's not a whole lot to him. You go, you sit down, you talk to whoever it is, whether it's, the host or, whatever, I think it's much easier for him in a situation like this. But he still has that lip licking thing, but not as much as he did. And he did an interview a while back. I can't remember what the interview was. I did a whole thing on it on
You
my
did it. It
channel.
was like 120 times. You like, what? Wasn't the number crazy? It was
Yeah, it was
crazy.
nuts.
Can't
Yeah.
remember.
I mean,
Oh, was it BBC?
it was the BBC interview. Yeah, I broke that down and did a short of him licking his lips 100 times. So he's not doing that as much here as he was on the other thing. So he's not as stressed here. We're not seeing as many body language cues that let us know his stress level's up. He may be a little bit tired, maybe a little bit bored because he doesn't understand a lot of what this guy, where the direction this guy's coming from. I think he thinks he does,
Yeah.
which apparently Minaj is trying to get him settled into that. I don't think they ever actually settle into a comfortable conversation. You don't feel like you're seeing two people have a conversation. You feel like you have some guy asking questions and some guy answering them. And
Yeah.
what you're trying to do, going back to Joe Rogan, they just start talking. We just want to see a conversation and we can sit there and listen to it. We don't have to watch it the whole time. You can be doing something else.
True or false? Incognito mode makes you invisible on the internet. The answer is actually false. Most people have no idea, but your browsing history can still be monitored and even recorded unless you use today's sponsor, ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN reroutes your internet traffic through a secure encrypted tunnel, protecting your data from hackers, advertisers, or even your internet service provider. Depending on where you live, ISPs can actually be required to log your activity or even worse, legally sell your browsing history. ExpressVPN makes sure that doesn't happen. It also lets you change your online location so you can access geolocked content on streaming platforms like Netflix, Disney Plus, and BBC iPlayer. With servers in over 100 countries, you can unlock thousands of new shows and movies from around the globe. Setup is simple, just one click to connect, and it works across all your devices. That's phones, laptops, tablets, even smart TVs. Speeds are blazing fast, so you can stream in HD with zero buffering. I've used ExpressVPN while traveling, and it gives me real peace. Protect your online privacy today by visiting expressvpn.com/Kinsey to get up to 4 extra months free. That's expressvpn.com/Kinsey. It's just so
So
strange to me to watch these two because I don't understand what Prince Harry is selling here. And again, I keep mentioning Project Thaw, and we'll go into this Canada visit in a second. I look at the Canada visit and I see Project Thaw. I see Harry trying to get back in with the British royal family. I see him trying to look like the British royal family. But when I watch this, I think, are you still trying to cater to Netflix? Are you trying to impress the entertainment world? Are you trying to be taken seriously in the tech space? If so, is this the right? I just question this venue because if you don't have a lot of substance, then oversaturation is a problem. And in 2025, more from Meghan than Harry, I've seen a lot of content. I've seen a lot of interviews. I've seen a lot of shows and podcasts. I've seen very little substance. And so I feel like they risk overexposure. And I think they need to be more careful about who they talk to and why, and have a bigger, even with the royal family, you see such a big goal. And everything they do is leading up to this goal that might be years away. But every sit down interview, every word that comes out of their mouth, even we saw William dodge a question about some of the chaos in his family and redirect it back to Earthshot this week. Everything they do has an ultimate objective. And with Harry and Meghan, it looks like they're chasing attention. And I don't think that benefits them or makes them likable characters.
Well, in this interview, he's selling relevance, his relevance. He's still trying to make himself relevant. If you remember, I don't know if anybody's watched this whole thing or not. I know you have, and I did too. Was when he asked him, do your children know what you do? And he says, they know we do good for people. What is that?
Yes.
So
Scott, I've said this to you before. It drives me crazy that that Archwell's motto is show up, do good. I think it's so vague so that we cannot hold them accountable. So that it show up, do good. Okay, well, how did you do that? I mean, if you say, here is our mission statement, and you're very specific about what your goals are, then at the end of every year, somebody can knock on your door and say, you didn't do that. But to just say, show up and do good. My kids know that I do good. It's just vague enough to where no one can hold you accountable for not doing a damn thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah.
Let's see what this next clip is because I've already forgot. So it's a gamble.
His visit took him to Toronto's Sunnybrook Veterans Center, the biggest care facility of its kind in the country.
How old are you now? Almost 102.
Here, Prince Harry met with some of the nation's oldest veterans who served in either the Second World War or the Korean War, and the prince seeming to really enjoy himself.
For me, it's the banter. It's the banter, it's the humor, it's the community that they are given here.
Here, veterans are taking part in creative art therapies, where both art and music are used to help vets with their physical and mental health. Brenda Reed, who's 101, thrilled to meet the prince.
He certainly has lots of charm. You just talk to him. I practically called him Harry.
Prince Harry's, of course, a veteran himself. He did 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan with the British Armed Forces, saying he's just one of a long list of family members to visit veterans here.
My aunt's been here, grandmother's been here, my great-grandmother's been here. So it's a real privilege for me to be able to be here.
The prince helping to paint poppies on a military helmet, one of several being auctioned off by the military charity True Patriot Love.
There's a couple of things I want to go into there. When he talks about it's the banter, it's the community, tell me your reaction to what he says there. Does he believe that? And then I have something to tell you.
Okay. This is like a meet and greet. If you ever go to a show and you pay extra so you can meet whoever the actors are or the musicians are or whatever this is basically just they have a meet and greet without a show. The show is him being a prince or whatever. So he shows up and he's got these stock things you say. I'm telling you, when we do Crime Con, after a while, when so many people come up, when you get your picture made with people, you get to meet a lot of people. There's only so many things you can think of to say to people, without going directly, trying to be funny with them and then accidentally making somebody mad or something. So you have to have these stock things that are almost not the same thing over and over. I've got a whole bunch of them, because I don't want to offend anybody, but I want to feel like I'm engaged with them because I'll ask about her hair, I'll ask about this, or I'll ask about their dog or their book bag or whatever it is. So in his case, he's got certain things he says, okay, now we're going to talk about this. And he's been doing this a long time. So when you come up and you're talking about people at the military place, you can say this, you've got this, and so they know how to do. After a while, it just becomes a groove that you get into and you understand how to talk about those things.
I love that that's your first reaction, because does it surprise you that he wrote an essay about his love for Britain and he says, I love the banter, I love the community. I mean, it's almost word for word the essay he released within the same 48 hours. I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, do you have an original thought in your head? And I have a hard time buying the whole why I love being British argument to begin with, because you fled your country and accused them of racism on Netflix. So this just feels like an extreme PR pivot to try to win over the British public, because Operation Thaw, he'd like to spend some more time there. And it's also interesting to me because he's done these faux royal tours before. But this is the king's country. Like, it really is as if he's trying to represent the family. And so, yeah, it helps to start listing off the other family members that have been to this exact venue that you're at.
Mm-hmm. It's something to talk about. It brings everybody in, the family in, of course, and everybody knows he's the prince, but you still want to talk about the queen and my grandmother. Yeah, that's a queen.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, man. That, in other words, he's again, making himself more relevant, but that's what you do with those things, because these people, the queen meant something to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal when you put your life on the line for your country. Dang, man.
But he's using this woman who he abandoned and just tried to discredit through what the American media, through Spare, through Netflix. one of the biggest arguments I've seen is he's engaging in so sweetly with all of these elderly people. And his critics, my audience, hey guys, they're saying, you know, it bordered on elder abuse for you to sit in the United States and be so hateful about your family in their twilight years. You know, Prince Philip died a month after the Oprah Winfrey interview, was in the hospital when they conducted it. The Queen died with the mystery of what would be inside the book Spare and what bad was going to come next from Harry and Meghan. And so my audience doesn't buy this. It feels like these elderly people are props. Harry's using his family to elevate himself and to give himself credibility. And it just feels like a yucky PR push.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I can't say what I think, but from a body language perspective, he's doing everything you do when you're in there just selling the same thing you're always selling. He's doing the show, you know. That's what it looks like to me, because there's nothing, we don't see any stress, we don't see anything that lets us know he's worried about anything. He's in there sitting there pretending he's painting on that helmet and doing all those things, you know. I was in the military too. Really? He was. That's arguable about what he actually did. From my understanding of it, I don't know a whole lot about his military service, but I understand this is done a lot when they say his service. So I don't know, but he's just doing the show.
Yeah.
You know, that's all normal. Nothing looks out of place there for that.
Right. Yeah. He's just following the Royals playbook, but he's no longer a working royal. I asked you about New York, if you felt like some of his insecurity or lack of confidence was imposter syndrome. I wish I saw that here because he's no longer a working royal, but I didn't see that here. Do you agree?
Yeah, because he's the prince. He's Prince Harry to them. These people appreciated the Queen. They loved her, man. They're up in it. You know, it was Britain, and here's what we're doing. They were talking about people in World War II and stuff like, you know, the war, the big one, you know, and all that. So I think, I think they appreciated who she was, and they appreciated, you know, Britain and what it stood for and all that. And they're still in the impression maybe that he stands for that, which I don't, in my opinion, it doesn't appear that he does, that he doesn't go on the same line of thought that she went down. So I think they see him.
Wait, I'm gonna interrupt you for a second because this circles back to the beginning of the video. I think you see his lack of loyalty. I think that I could be just putting words in your mouth, but there's a lack of loyalty. Circle back to the beginning of the video. Well, I just wore the Dodgers hat because I was invited there and it was convenient. People were angry about that because there was a lack of loyalty, you know? And then here we are coming full circle talking about how it's an authenticity problem because he stands for nothing and lacks loyalty in every aspect of his life, except maybe his wife and children.
Wow. That sounds like the end of the show there. That would have been the sign off.
Should I take the mic and drop it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, did you have anything else to say after watching this whirlwind of Prince Harry coverage over the last few weeks? I mean, really, again, if I were Harry and Meghan, I would have kept a low profile because of all the Prince Andrew chaos, but they didn't.
No, when you're fighting for relevance, like I said before, any press is good press, you know. And I'm sure the Prince Harry people were thinking, thank God they're out there taking some of the heat for what we've got going on over here, you know. So, but over the past few weeks, I think it's been interesting because we've seen him in all kinds of different situations. You know, we've seen him from his speaking situation where he was apparently tired or whatever's going on there, a little bit stressed. We've seen him in a situation where he's had to speak with his wife on the stage with him. So that's a different kind of stress we're seeing there. We saw him when he sat down and did interviews. So it's been he's run the gamut on this pretty much. So I think it's been a great example of almost all the body language that we see from him. We've seen him in relaxed places, you know, where there should be no stress at all. And he didn't look stressed to me. So I think we've seen a lot. I think we've gotten a lot out of who he is, if we're going to focus on him, from his personality type. I just watched him over the past few weeks.
All right. Well, what a what a roller coaster we've been on today. I think I pulled like 5 minutes, and I thought to myself, will Scott and I make something of this? And an hour later, you and I have made a
Here we are.
masterpiece.
Oh man.
I was
Yeah,
worried we weren't going to have enough content, but I love talking to you.
oh, I love talking to you too. I think this is easy. All if you can pull up anything on these people, man, it's so blatant. And once you see these things, you go, "Oh, I know what that is." And I get so many people that come to my channel and go, and even at Crime Con, when I go out, plays like, I first saw you on Kinsey show, and it's like, oh, okay, great, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't believe all the people that watch this. I couldn't believe all the people that watched it either, because remember the first time you got a hold of me, I've got this show, I knew who it was. I told you why, because my wife watches it. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. I know you are. And I was really surprised at all the people who are like dedicated, they're up in it, man.
And you
So-
know what? This is a dream team. They love us together. So Harry and Meghan, as much as you get on our nerves, keep it coming, I guess, because you give Scott and I plenty to talk about. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just go ahead. Just be yourself. All right, Scott Rouse, you are not only a leading expert in behavior and body language, you are my friend. Thank you so much for being here today. And if you don't follow Scott on Instagram and YouTube, please go do that right now, because he pumps out content religiously that you will enjoy. I'm going to get off, and I'm going to go turn on my TV on YouTube. I'm going to look up your Jodi Arias analysis, because
Okay.
I cannot wait to see what you guys say about Jodi Arias on the behavior panel.
Okay. I think I've got one on my channel too. I can't remember if I broke
Okay.
that down as well.
I'll
But
look it up.
I do have those behavior battles between Meghan and Harry. So that might
Yes,
be something.
that's a good one. That's a good one. I enjoyed that one a lot. All right. Well, I'm going to talk to you again very soon. Do you want to say hi to Edie? She needs a haircut. Come here.
Yeah.
Wait, I'll give you because he doesn't need a haircut and he's my favorite.
Oh, that's
Hi, there.
lovely. Hang on a second. Okay.
Show us Hattie.
There's Hattie.
Hi, Hattie. Hattie and Rue. Oh, meant to be. Okay, well, I will talk to you so soon. And thanks for today.
It's good seeing you, and I'll talk to you in a bit.